Story 1. I signed my ex-boyfriend up for the Church of Scientology. I saw that it was a funny trend to sign people up for random email lists and spam them, but I decided to take this a step further because he really burnt me in the past. I went to our local Church of Scientology's website and saw where you could input your personal information to receive messages from the church. Since I had most of this information from our time being together, I filled it out under his name. I did it with a few more churches of Scientology as well. I thought that this would only be a minor inconvenience with a few puzzling, harmless emails, but it turned out to be much worse. Recently, I saw that he posted on his Instagram that he was deleting all of his social media due to privacy reasons. At first, I didn't think much of it, but after a while, I started to wonder if there was any connection to what I had put in the Church of Scientology's website. So out of curiosity, I later decided to bite the bullet and DM him on Instagram in the hopes that he hadn't deactivated his account. A few minutes later, he responded, saying that he needed a break from social media. Ultimately, he told me not to worry about it and that he was going to delete his Instagram 10,000 followers later that night. I figured I was off the hook. A few weeks later, I was with a mutual friend of ours, and she updated me on his situation. Apparently, him and his family had been contacted by the Church of Scientology. Supposedly, they actually expressed interest. The mutual friend said that she hadn't seen him in a while and that none of his friends had heard from him in over a month. She said that it seemed like he was cutting off everybody. I just received word that he's dropping out of school after the semester ends and his family is moving to live with other church members. I know I technically signed him up for this, but I had no idea it would get this bad. He honestly deserved it after everything he did. I can't exactly state what he did and caution that this post would get removed. Just know that it was pretty fracked up and me and a friend of mine had to see a therapist. I can't speak to the severity of what this person did to you because I don't know, but that's still kind of scary, having this kind of hold come over this person. I mean, I used to do rideshare in Los Angeles, and I would feel uneasy just dropping someone off at a house that was near the Church of Scientology. So, yeah, this is kind of creepy to me, actually. Story 2. You say your kids are 13? Okay. So this happened about 10 years ago when I worked at the box office of a movie theater before automated machines were the norm. Adult tickets, 14 plus, were $11.99. Kids 3 to 13 were $9.50, and kids under 3 were free. I had a woman come to my till with 2 kids. Now, these kids looked to be about 15, though it can be hard to tell sometimes. As many kids don't carry any kind of ID, the rule of thumb was to sell either a kid's ticket or adult ticket based on how old the adult told us the kids were. Many people would abuse this and say the kids were 13 in order to save a few bucks. Typically, I didn't care, as I understood the prices were pretty high and this was a big chain, so a few older kids getting cheaper tickets wasn't a big deal. What was different this time is that the woman was very rude throughout the whole transaction. We have a series of questions we have to ask throughout the transaction, loyalty program, etc., and we would randomly get scored by mystery shoppers to ensure we were following the script. This woman was annoyed and short with me throughout the whole transaction when I was being super friendly and just trying to do my job. When we got to the part about what kind of ticket she needed, it went something like this. Me. How old are the kids? Her. Why? Me. So I know whether they need kids' tickets or adults' tickets. Her. What's the difference? Me. Adult tickets for 14 plus are $11.99. Kids' tickets for 3 to 13 are $9.50. Her. Oh, they're 13. Me. Okay. And which film would you like to go to see today? Her. Whatever film it was, I can't remember. Me. Okay, no problem. For 2 kids and 1 adult, that will be $30.99 total. Her. Actually, I'm not going with them. I'm just dropping them off. Me. Unfortunately, this movie is 14A, which means you have to be either 14 or accompanied by an adult to see it. Her. Well, they're 14. Me. You just told me they were 13. Her. They're actually 14. I just didn't want to pay the price for adult tickets. Me. Unfortunately, you told me they're 13. Unless you have an ID that shows they're 14, I have to assume what you first told me was correct and cannot allow them to watch this movie unsupervised as it's 14A. Her. This is ridiculous. So what are my options? Me. They can either go to a different movie that is not 14A, or you will have to buy a ticket and accompany them to this one. After a lot of back and forth about options, she finally decided to bite the bullet and buy an adult ticket to accompany them. I like to think she spent the next 2 hours reflecting on how her attempt to save $5 ended up costing her $11.99 and 2 hours of her time. Realistically, she likely bought the ticket, accompanied them into the theater, and then left them there to watch the movie while she went shopping. Either way, it still cost her the extra $11.99 for her ticket. The difference here in the prices is really in my perspective, is really kind of small. I know there are some people that have really tight budgets, but again, if you're just going to be rude, expect people to kind of respond and not just blow over. People are just constantly thinking they can just mess with customer service representatives because customer service representatives aren't supposed to be able to, quote unquote, fight back, like this person did. Story 3. Entitled mother wants me to give up a seat on a 10-hour flight. When I refuse, she claims I stole the seat. Cast: entitled mom, entitled grandma, spoiled brat, and me. This happened about a year ago, but I just booked tickets for another long flight, and it made me think of this. I was flying from Hawaii to New York and had a layover in Chicago. The flight from Hawaii to Chicago was about 10 hours long, and I had booked my flight well in advance so that I could have my choice of seats. I chose the window seat on the exit row, and as I was waiting in the airport, I was excited knowing my seat was going to be perfect. We start boarding, and I'm one of the first groups to board, so I make sure I have everything I need for my bag. Put my headphones on and start my Netflix binge. About 10 minutes in, the woman next to me taps me on the shoulder, entitled grandma. Hi, sweetie. I'm flying with my family and my granddaughter would like to be in the window seat. I should explain the layout of the plane. There's 3 seats on the left and right side and 4 seats in the middle. Entitled grandma and her husband were sitting in the seats next to me on my side, and the rest of her family, entitled mom and her 3 kids, all between 2 to 8 years old, were sitting in the middle row. Me. I'm sorry, I chose this seat because I know how long of a flight it's going to be. I would offer to let her sit here during takeoff and then switch, but she looks really young and I don't think they allow children to sit on the exit row. Entitled mother, overhearing our conversation. So you're just going to be heartless and deny my daughter her window seat? Spoiled brat. Mom, you told me I could have it. Tell her it's mine. She starts having a temper tantrum and screaming while sitting in the aisle, holding up the entire line of people trying to get to their seats. Entitled grandma. Look what you did. You broke that little girl's heart. I hope you know there's a place in hell for people like you. The flight attendant had heard the girl's tantrum at this point and started coming over. Flight attendant. What seems to be the issue? Me. These people asked me to switch. Entitled mother. This girl stole my daughter's seat. She shoved her way in as I was helping my daughter with her bag, and now she refuses to give us the seat back. Me. I have my ticket that shows that this is my seat. entitled Grandma, "She stole that ticket from my grandbaby. I saw her do it." Me, extremely frustrated at this point. It has my name on it, and I have my license to prove it's my name. Flight attendant looks over everything and says, "This is her seat. Also, your daughter is way too young to be in an exit row. Please don't disturb this young lady again." The rest of the flight, I endured dirty looks from the family, and at one point, entitled Grandma tried to spill a drink on me as the flight attendant was handing it to me. Hopefully, this next flight I can just sit in silence. Wow, just not even trying to be polite. Not even, just trying to really brute force your way into this seat. And I just can't believe it. And going against their rules that this is going to be an unsafe flight. What if the plane did go down and this really young kid was in this exit row? She wouldn't have been able to do anything. I mean, that's a very small chance that that's going to happen, but just very entitled and just trying to lie and force your way on there. Ugh. Awful.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 4. Work punishments include drinking soap and other abuse. My girlfriend works at a retail store in California. They are supposed to ask customers if they want to buy a particular item, and there is a punishment board for not doing so. The employee is allowed to choose their punishment from a punishment board. The punishments are either very hard and often demanding work, or obviously illegal punishments. The hard work is things like cleaning toilets or moving heavy objects. Other punishments include doing push-ups, coworkers being allowed to hit you with a stick, drinking soap, eating dog food, and sucking on undesirable objects that are not meant for human consumption. Is this illegal? They could argue these obviously illegal punishments are not mandatory, but there is an incentive to do them because the other punishments are so difficult. Yes, that is completely illegal. I'm sure if you took a picture of that and went to some Department of Labor board, they'd have some interesting questions for the employers here. That is completely not okay. I have had some bad situations before. I have never had to do a punishment like drinking soap or doing push-ups because I might have forgotten to do something. How are they getting away with this? I mean, wage theft is one thing. Forcing people to eat dog food is just quite another. Story 5. Got a foreign exchange student sent home to her own country for relentlessly bullying my sister. My sister was bullied relentlessly in high school for something she had literally zero control over, a certain part of her anatomy. Without going into details, she felt terrible about it, and it more or less ruined her life as an insecure 15-year-old girl. The girl responsible for most of the cruel bullying and the one who gave her a particularly cruel nickname related to her physical issue was called Nadia. Nadia was a foreign exchange student at our school. Nadia was beautiful. She was cruel, and she didn't give any fracks about anyone but herself. I wasn't Miss Popularity myself, but I had to protect my sister from having her life ruined, and I felt a very strong urge to get back at her tormentors. They say, to unalive a dragon with many heads, you've got to cut off the main head. So that's what I did. I learned that the father of Nadia was very conservative. Her whole family back home was. So I started spreading rumors about her being very promiscuous and ensured these rumors reached the family she was staying with. This apparently caused her some trouble, but I wasn't done. I threw a party one night when my parents were gone. I invited Nadia, who gladly came as I was a cooler, older girl, somehow, and she never said no to a chance to get hammered. Because, yes, there was a lot of liquor. I made sure of that. took pictures of everyone drinking and having fun. That same night, when everyone left, I put it on my Facebook. Tagged Nadia on it. She was my Facebook friend, and she had this option turned on where everything she's tagged in is automatically allowed on her timeline. So a picture of her, completely drunk and very skimpily dressed, made its way to her page. Because of it being the middle of the night, she must not have noticed until the next day in the morning, so it stayed on for hours. But due to her parents' time zone being vastly different, I was sure they would see it before she had a chance to take it down. They did. I wasn't there to see the fallout, obviously, but she was gone the next week from school and flown back to her home country. Apparently, her parents had to save her from being corrupted or something, so she was gone. And my sister, safe from ridicule as word of my involvement spread, and let's just say people didn't really want to mess with her after seeing how far I was willing to go to protect my little sister. I don't know if she really needed to spread the rumors of her being promiscuous for all of this to happen. It seems like if the parents were conservative, showing pictures of her getting drunk and wearing what she was wearing would probably have been enough to trigger all of this. But I'm glad this little girl has someone to stand up for her. But I also hope that she's being taught how to stand up for herself, as well as not just by example, but just by being able to talk to her and being able to instill some sort of confidence in her. Story 6. I altered my uniform to comply with the dress code in my employee handbook. Back when I, now a 37 female, was younger, with a lot of attitude and a loud mouth, I worked for a nice Italian restaurant in my hometown. I didn't have a single issue with management until 7 months into my employment when a male manager joined the team. He was a bit of a misogynist. He would make backhanded comments about women, and he only had issues with the female staff. He wrote me up for some ridiculous reasons. One being opening the dock door too hard, when it was a heavy steel door that you had to put some muscle into to open. He fired another lady who was pregnant for asking to be put in a section closest to the kitchen. She filed a lawsuit, and won, too. One day I walked into work. He pulled me into the office immediately and presented me with a write-up slip. It was because I was not wearing a belt. The dress code stated, if pants have belt loops, a belt must be worn. Okay. My uniform that day didn't comply with the dress code. The issue was that I hadn't worn a belt in 7 months, while he and the other managers never mentioned it. In my opinion, the appropriate thing to say would have been, hey, I see you haven't been wearing a belt, and we haven't been enforcing it. Dress code says you must wear a belt if you have belt loops. I'll give you X amount of days to purchase one before I start enforcing. I got a straight write-up. So I went home and cut off all the belt loops off all my work pants. The next day, immediately upon walking in, he asked where my belt was. I pointed to my pants and said, "Where are my belt loops?" The employee handbook stated, if there are belt loops, but I no longer had belt loops. Let's just say it didn't make him like me anymore, but I felt like a hero standing up to him in such a petty manner. Now, I was thinking she might get written up for some sort of rule of damaging company property, but this sounds like a company that would make you buy your own work pants or something, so she probably got away with that. But yeah, as I've said before, I'll say it again. Read your employee handbook, know what your rights are, because this guy is just gunning for anyone and is willing to write them up for anything.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.